Y'all, I got a call from a woman named Patricia at 2 in the morning. She's 52 years old, been married for 25 years, raised 2 beautiful kids. Her youngest just left for college, and she called me crying, saying, "Steve, I don't know who I am anymore. For 25 years, I was mom. Now I'm just nobody." What Patricia's going through right now is happening to millions of women. And what I learned from mentoring her through this, it's going to help every parent facing the empty nest. See, we think empty nest syndrome is about missing your kids. But what I discovered through Patricia's journey is that it's really about mourning the death of an identity that defined you for decades, and then having the courage to birth a new version of yourself at an age when most people think their growing is done. Let me tell you about Patricia Williams from Denver. She got married at 25 to her college sweetheart, Tom, had her first child, Michael, at 27, and her daughter, Sarah, at 29. From the moment those babies were born, Patricia made a decision that millions of mothers make. Her children would be her everything. For 25 years, Patricia was the mother every parent hopes to be. She volunteered at every school event, drove carpool for half the neighborhood, attended every soccer game, piano recital, and science fair. She knew every teacher's name, every friend's parent, every detail of her children's lives. "Steve," Patricia tells me, "I was proud of being the mom who never missed anything. When other mothers complained about being tired or wanted girls' nights out, I judged them. I thought, how can you want time away from your children? They're only young once." Patricia organized her entire life around Michael and Sarah's schedules. She took part-time jobs that worked around school hours. She turned down promotions that required travel. She and Tom's social life revolved around family activities and their children's friends' parents. "I told myself I was being selfless," Patricia says. "I was sacrificing for my family, but now I realize I was also hiding. It was easier to pour all my energy into being the perfect mother than to figure out who Patricia was as an individual." As the years went by, Patricia became known as Michael and Sarah's mom. At parent-teacher conferences, social gatherings, even in her own marriage, her identity was completely tied to her children's achievements, struggles, and needs. The signs started when Michael left for college 3 years ago. Patricia felt a piece of herself walk out the door with him, but she still had Sarah at home, still had someone to mother, still had a purpose. "I threw myself into Sarah's senior year even harder," Patricia admits. "I helped her with college applications like it was my full-time job. I researched schools, wrote notes for her essays, scheduled all her campus visits. I was clinging to the last year of being needed." But even with Sarah still at home, Patricia started noticing cracks in her marriage. Without Michael to focus on, she and Tom had trouble finding things to talk about. Their conversations revolved around Sarah's college plans. But when those topics were exhausted, they sat in uncomfortable silence. "Tom would try to talk to me about his work, his interests, current events," Patricia says, "but I realized I hadn't kept up with anything outside our family bubble. I didn't have opinions about politics. I didn't know what movies were popular. I hadn't read a book for pleasure in years." Last August, Sarah left for Northwestern University. Patricia and Tom drove her to Chicago, helped her move into her dorm, and then drove home to Denver in complete silence. "Walking into our house that night was the most terrifying moment of my life," Patricia tells me. "It was so quiet. No music from Sarah's room, no backpacks by the door, no one asking what's for dinner, just me and Tom staring at each other like strangers who happened to live in the same house." The first month after Sarah left was devastating for Patricia. She would wake up early, ready to make breakfast for the kids, then remember no one needed breakfast. She'd start to call upstairs for Sarah to come down, then catch herself. "I kept their rooms exactly the same," Patricia says. "I'd go in and dust them, organize their closets like they were coming home from a sleepover instead of living their own lives." Patricia's marriage began to suffer more seriously. Without the children as a buffer, she and Tom had to face the fact that they'd become co-parenting partners rather than romantic partners. Tom would suggest we go out to dinner, just the two of us, Patricia says, but I'd panic. What would we talk about? Who was I without the kids there to discuss? I started making excuses not to go. The depression hit hard in October. Patricia found herself crying at random moments. In the grocery store when she automatically reached for Sarah's favorite cereal. At the bank when the teller asked how the kids were doing. At home when she realized she could cook whatever she wanted because no one was there to please. I called in sick to my part-time job because I couldn't stop crying, Patricia admits. I spent 3 days in my pajamas looking at old photo albums, feeling like my life was over at 52. That's when she called me at 2 a.m., desperate and lost. When Patricia called me that night, I heard something in her voice that I recognized from my own life transitions. She wasn't just missing her kids, she was grieving the death of an identity. Patricia, I told her, you're not having a breakdown, you're having a breakthrough. For 25 years, you did one of the hardest jobs in the world. You raised two human beings who are now successful, independent adults. That wasn't a waste of time. That was your most important work. But I also had to give her some tough love. Now it's time for your second act. And that's going to require you to get reacquainted with a person you haven't talked to in 25 years, yourself. I shared with Patricia something I learned during my own career transitions. Every time I thought my purpose was ending, I was actually just getting ready for my purpose to evolve. You weren't just Michael and Sarah's mom. You were developing skills, wisdom, and strength that you can now use in completely new ways. I told her about my own identity crisis when my children grew up, when my comedy career shifted, when I had to reinvent myself multiple times. The scariest part isn't letting go of who you were, I explained. It's having faith that who you're becoming is going to be even better. Over the next 6 months, Patricia and I worked together on what I call identity archaeology, digging up the parts of herself that got buried under 25 years of motherhood. We started with simple questions. Who was Patricia before she became a mother? What did she love? What were her dreams? Patricia remembered that she had majored in interior design, that she used to sketch room layouts for fun, that friends always asked her to help decorate their homes. I realized I'd been designing and redesigning our house for 25 years. She said, every time we moved, every time the kids needed new rooms, I was the one who made it beautiful. But I never thought of it as a skill or a passion. Just something moms do. We worked on her marriage too. I encouraged Patricia and Tom to start dating each other again. You two fell in love before you had kids, I reminded her. Those people are still in there. You just need to reintroduce them to each other. Patricia started small, suggesting they take walks together without talking about the children, trying new restaurants, asking Tom about his work, and actually listening to the answers. 6 months after that 2 a.m. phone call, Patricia's life looked completely different. She enrolled in an interior design certification program at the local community college. I was terrified the first day, she admits. I was 52, sitting in a classroom with people half my age. But you know what? I was also excited in a way I hadn't felt in decades. Patricia started a small interior design consulting business. Her first clients were friends who had been asking for her help for years. Word spread, and soon she had a waiting list. For the first time in 25 years, people knew my name, not just as someone's mother, she says. They called me Patricia the designer, not Michael and Sarah's mom. Her marriage transformed too. Tom and I started having real conversations, Patricia says. I had things to tell him about my classes, my clients, my ideas. He had been waiting for me to come back to the conversation for years. The most beautiful part? Her relationship with her children actually improved. When Michael and Sarah come home now, they're excited to hear about my business, Patricia says. They're proud that their mom is pursuing her dreams. Instead of me living through their achievements, we're all cheering each other on. What Patricia taught me through her journey is that empty nest syndrome isn't really about the children leaving. It's about parents getting a second chance at life. Here's what every parent facing this transition needs to know. First, grieving your mothering role is normal and necessary. Don't rush past the sadness. You're mourning the end of one of life's most important chapters. But mourning isn't the end of the story. Second, the skills you developed as a parent, organization, multitasking, problem solving, nurturing, advocating, these are professional level skills that the world needs. You didn't waste 25 years. You built a resume. Third, your marriage might feel strange without children as the focus, but this is an opportunity to fall in love again. The couple who made those babies is still in there. Give them a chance to reconnect. Fourth, it's never too late to pursue dreams you put on hold. Patricia was 52 when she went back to school. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he started KFC. Your second act can be your best act. Fifth, your children don't need you to be lost without them. They need you to be an example of what a fulfilling adult life looks like. When you thrive, you give them permission to leave home without guilt. Patricia learned what every empty nester must learn. You didn't fail as a parent because your children grew up and left. You succeeded so completely that they're ready to build their own lives. The nest isn't empty, it's ready for renovation. And the woman who spent 25 years creating a loving home for others is exactly the right person to create a meaningful life for for herself. Y'all remember that. When your purpose as a parent evolves, you don't lose your identity. You get the chance to discover who you've been becoming all along. Patricia's not just somebody's mom anymore. She's Patricia Williams, interior designer, wife, individual, and the woman who raised two incredible humans who are now out there making the world better. That's not an ending. That's a beginning.